Hiya, and welcome back to Echo. Uh, mm, Emotional damage. Okay, good enough. But let's just hop right in because I think we're on a Saturday of TJ's route. Yeah, we are. We arrive at the lake at about 10 in the morning. Julian had driven down over an hour to pick us up before driving to Carl's house. Carl wasn't ready when we got there, and when we answered the door, his eyes were bleary and red. It took him a good 20 minutes to get ready, and all the while I struggled not to glare at him. It's weird. I've been friends with the Ram for almost my entire life, and it's only now that I'm feeling real disgust for the person that he is. So many self-created problems. He keeps his head down most of the time so he doesn't see me. He's still feeling sick too, so he opts to ride in the truck bed on the way down, and Jenna sits with him. I can't help but wonder what might happen if we have an accident. TJ sits next to me, and this time I'm sure to sit in the middle so that Julian is on my left and TJ is on my right. It feels better this way. As the lake comes into view, I rest upon TJ's knee. He glances at me, then nods in acknowledgement. I give his thigh a squeeze, then wait as we pull into the parking lot, going over the scenarios in my head for what might happen. Well, here we are. We don't say anything in response as we quietly get out of the truck. Jenna jumps out of the truck bed easily, but Carl struggles, and I imagine him falling straight out and face-planting into the asphalt. Jenna helps him, though, and then we're all walking down the trail toward the lake, single file. I walk right behind TJ, though, so I can keep an eye on him and anyone else that might try to fuck with him. Wow, it's been 12 years since I've been down here. Yeah. There's a cool freshness to the air by the lake. I breathe it in and get hit with the sweet memories of spending entire days down here. Swimming in the lake, building sandcastles, poking at dead fish on the beach. As we start walking on the beach and approach the big boulder, I feel my heart start to hammer in my chest. I pick up my speed to catch up to TJ. How are you feeling? I'm okay. You don't sound okay. I'm nervous. We all are. I actually feel like I'm going to throw up. TJ suddenly reaches out his paw and holds mine. I'm surprised. TJ's never done this before, and though I know it's probably due to the situation we're in, it still makes me feel warm inside. It's going to be okay. I know it. This is going to be the end. TJ's voice breaks up on the last word. The end? The end of what exactly? TJ's guilt over Sydney? The mystery over what exactly happened to him? Of the world as we know it? Yeah, that's probably it. Because I know that after this morning, things are never going to be the same again. Just remember that if it's buried by that boulder, it's probably gone by now. I know I've said that every time before, but the lake has flooded a few times since. I look up at the steep rocky bank on our right. Remember that spring that it all went way up to the road? Yeah. I look back at our friends. Jen is walking side by side with Carl, talking to him in a low voice. Julian is ahead of them, and he's looking directly at me. I look away. I'm just saying that even if it's there, it's probably water damage to the point that we won't be able to read it. TJ stays silent as we come up on the rocks sitting there on the beach, like it has since I can remember. Probably like it has since before the lake was even created. TJ still holds my paws. Julian, Jenna, and Carl stand next to us, the five of us in a sort of semicircle around the boulder. Well, here we are. Julian says the exact same thing he said in the parking lot, and I feel myself starting to get annoyed. But I cling to TJ's paw, and that calms me down a little. So, if it's still here, it could be anywhere, knowing Sydney. Jenna says his name carefully. He'd probably leave a marker of some kind. This one could be hard to find. Remember that he said it's by Carl's drawing. It'd probably be right next to that. I don't know, guys. The other ones were inside of something. This is just out on a beach. The sand's changing all the time. Carl digs at the damp sand with a hoof, his paws shoved into his pockets, eyes downcast. Everything okay, Carl? I say it sharply, not bothering to filter out the annoyance in my voice. He looks up at me, a bit surprised. Huh? Yeah, I'm okay. I just feel sicker from the ride down. Smoke too much? Carl frowns. No, I just get sick sometimes when I'm stressed out. Weed makes me feel less sick, actually. I stop myself from asking what it is he's so stressed about. Are you okay, Chase? I'm good. I shouldn't be drawing attention to myself right now. Meanwhile, Julian is walking around the boulder, looking for the drawing. TJ lets go of my paw finally and starts to walk around the boulder from the other side. Almost immediately, he points excitedly. Oh, Carl, you're drawing! Carl sidles up to him before chuckling quietly. Oh yeah, for some reason I thought it'd be gone by now. Why would it be? You chipped it into the rock. Didn't you spend like a month doing that? Carl looks down at his paws. Yeah, fucked my paws up doing it too. I move around to stand next to them and see the rough outline of a muscular wolf with a long cape. Super Wolf. Carl had been obsessed with that superhero since the new movie was coming out that summer. I don't think he liked it very much because right after he saw it, he stopped working on the etching. It's actually pretty good, especially when you consider that Carl was like 9 when he did it. I push those memories out of my head, wiping out the smiling childhood face of Carl from my mind. Then I steel myself, preparing for what I'm going to say and for what's about to happen. Hey, look at the sand underneath it. Everyone looks down in unison at where I'm pointing my finger. I let it sink in for a moment before I say it. The dirt. Looks like someone dug it up recently. No one says anything. Or maybe the sand's just wetter there. I don't know. TJ kneels down next to the boulder, reaching a paw to steady himself against it as Julian kneels down across from him. He reaches out with the other paw, poking at the loose-looking dirt, slightly darker than the sand around it. Still, no one says anything, and I decide not to push it further, knowing I've already planted a seed of doubt in TJ's mind. You should have grabbed a garden shovel from your house, Carl. Yeah. I pick up the flat rock I used last night. Here. I hand it to Julian. He looks at it for a second before digging the sharp end into the dirt. It sinks in deep and easily before the stag turns out the sand. Less than a minute later, TJ gasps and reaches into the shallow hole, pulling out the lunchbox. Oh my god, my anxiety is like through the roof right now. Because I don't know what Chase wrote, but it must have been bad. Now that there's daylight, I can see the chipped green paint on the dragon. TJ holds it for a moment, staring down at it. Julian looks around at us. Was that Sydney's? I can't remember, but TJ nods and with shaky hands unlatches the metal clasps. Carl stands further back than the rest of us, motionless. Jenna once again has a paw up to her mouth, not saying anything. TJ opens the lid. The hinges squeak a little as the tin lid flops open, revealing my note. Paws still shaking, TJ reaches in. At this point, there's little hesitation in TJ's movements. He's eager to find out what it says, eager to get this done. TJ unfolds the note, then reads it. He doesn't read it aloud, instead letting his eyes go back and forth over the page while the rest of us wait. I know at this point he's finished reading it, but he still doesn't say anything, eyes glued to the page. TJ? TJ doesn't say anything, continuing to stare. TJ, what does it say? Okay. I'm so anxious right now. TJ sits there for a few more seconds before he wordlessly holds out the note to no one in particular. His face is blank for the most part, but I can see the shock in his eyes. Julian takes it from him and starts reading. You've reached the end, but I don't have the answer, so I'll ask again. TJ, what happened to Sydney? The silence that follows is one of the heaviest that I've ever experienced. Carl's still frozen, but now he's looking up at Julian. Jenna's moved her paw from her mouth at this point, but she's clutching her necklace, her eyes on TJ. Julian is just staring at the links, waiting, probably unsure of what any of this means. TJ, meanwhile, stares at the hole that we dug up, his paws laying limp in his lap, ears drooping. I start walking over to him. What does it mean? Do you guys know? I rest upon TJ's shoulder, touching it softly. He doesn't move, so I crouch down next to him, slowly wrapping an arm around his shoulders, drawing him in. I can feel him trembling. Guys? I look over at Julian with a sad look on my face. We have a friend who has a grudge about this whole thing. I think you might have been the one leaving the notes. TJ shakes his head against me, but doesn't say anything. Julian stares. But why? I shrug, beginning to stroke the top of TJ's head. Julian looks from me to TJ. I don't know. Maybe he thought that this was his last chance to hurt TJ somehow. I really don't know. Jenna and Carl have walked up to stand next to us and both seem to be at a loss for words. Paper is different, though. TJ's voice is distant and faint, muffled against my chest. There are ways to make paper look old. Maybe he just didn't have time with this one. Julian shakes his head. Listen, I know I've only been part of this for a day, but this is crazy, and there are a lot of assumptions. Do you really know what happened? If you knew this friend of ours like we do, you'd understand how obvious this is. But then Jenna shakes her head as well. No, Flynn wouldn't do this. He's a jerk, but he wouldn't do this. You know that Flynn's been sending TJ threatening texts all week, and that he's been out to fuck with TJ since we got here. Jenna shakes her head again, but doesn't say anything. He wouldn't. I snap my gaze at Carl, glaring. Dude, even at his worst, he'd never do something like this. It's too fucked up. All of that work just to fuck with us, and it has to do with Sydney? No. And who found the first note? Who's been Flynn's best friend since we all left? Whoa, Chase! Carl's eyes go wide. TJ finally lifts his head, looking up at Carl. You're the one that gave it to us. Set us off on this whole bullshit scavenger hunt. Carl takes a step back, mouth hanging open, looking at me like I'm some sort of alien or something. This entire thing was fucking crazy from the start. Our dead friend who left notes behind a decade ago, and somehow it's all still here, in the old school, in that house. Fuck that. Chase, stop it. Jenna's voice is soft and distant, lacking any sort of authority. I stand up suddenly, staring the ram down. What? How? No! Carl takes another step back, and I can see his chest heaving. He can't even get his words out. It's like he's just run a marathon and can't catch his breath. Huh? I don't... Carl clutches his chest, and I can't help but notice how fucking guilty he looks right now. He suddenly retches and gags loudly. Carl, breathe. No, you can't use your fucking anxiety. I make air quotes. You monster. As a shield right now. Did Flynn put you up to this? Carl retches again and doubles over, spitting on the ground. Carl! Jenna starts walking toward the ramp, but at that moment something rushes past me, then past Jenna. I have a moment to see TJ's back. His tufted ears are laid flat against his head. He's moved so fast that the wind has pushed them back. There's another quick movement that I can't quite see from my angle. But then Carl stumbling back, a paw up to his face, letting out a gasp that he's been holding his breath for 10 minutes. I lunge forward, reaching out for TJ as the cat goes in for another swipe. Carl jumps back towards the embankment, and as he lays on the many rocks that separate the beach from the road. I grab the back of TJ's shirt, and at the same time I see Carl's hoof disappear between the rocks, then he falls back. And then there's a sound like a thick branch snapping in two, cutting through the air like a gunshot. Immediately, Carl lets out the most hideous scream I've ever heard the ram make. No! Jenna runs past us, followed by Julian at a more even jog. Meanwhile, I hold on to TJ, the lynx still going after Carl, making a yowling sound as his claws swipe at the air, baring his teeth. He's wild. Feral. Not thinking at all. TJ, stop. I'm here. I try talking into the lynx's ear, and at the same time, I feel him starting to go limp in my grasp. The energy and rage slowly going out of him. I finally feel safe enough to turn him around, pulling him into a hug. It's okay. You got him. You're fine. TJ looks toward Carl one last time, watching the ram roll back and forth on his back, choking, howling, and screaming all at once. Oh my god. TJ suddenly turns his face into my chest and starts to cry. Jesus, his ankle! Carl, can you move? But Carl isn't listening, and continuing to scream and hyperventilate at the same time. Call an ambulance! I don't know who she's talking to, but Julian pulls out his phone. TJ continues to sob into my chest, and I start to move away, toward the trail, pulling TJ with me. I'm taking TJ back to the motel. Yes! Leave, please! Jenna snarls at me over her shoulder. Hi, we need paramedics. Yeah, someone here tripped and broke his leg and now he can't get up. Carl, Carl, I know it hurts, but you need to breathe. I'm going to count. Jenna's voice fades away as I start fast walking toward the trail, pulling the sobbing TJ along with me. TJ finally pulls away from me when we reach the parking lot and starts walking ahead, hugging himself. I follow behind him at a close distance, listening to him sob for a while. It isn't until we reach the road that he's fully calmed down enough to stop sobbing. I walk quietly behind him for a little bit longer before finally catching up, walking next to him. He doesn't say anything and goes on hugging himself, hiccuping softly every once in a while. I wonder if I should say anything, ask him about what happened, or even change the subject completely. Eventually, though, he's the one to speak first. I didn't mean to. He cuts off as he goes into a coughing fit. I rub him on the back gently. It's okay. You don't have to explain yourself after what he did. Do you think... TJ takes a deep breath, finally steadying his words. Do you think he really did that? I let the silence drag out a moment before finally replying. Who else could it have been? I completely understand why you went along with all of those notes, but in the end, this was the only realistic conclusion we were going to get to. Yeah, I just didn't think they'd do something like this. Especially Carl. TJ says Carl's name softly. I still don't know if he did it, but then I remembered what he said when we played Spin the Bottle. I felt like it had to be him. I was just so angry. I've never been so angry in my life. It was scary. I mean, maybe Flynn didn't tell him everything about what was going on. I guess he could have been tricked into thinking Flynn somehow had good intentions in all of this. I don't know. His leg. TJ covers his face like he's about to start crying again. I quickly put my arm around him and hold him close. Hey, this isn't your fault. Honestly, he deserved that scratch you gave him. He fell on his own. TJ shakes his head. I just can't even remember what happened. I just started running at him, like I wasn't in control. It was like it was all automatic or something. Into? TJ. I stop the links and turn him toward me, even though he keeps covering up his face. This is not your fault. What Flynn and Carl did to you is absolutely disgusting, and honestly, I'm amazed that you were able to hold yourself back as much as you did. But the sounds he was making, it sounded so awful. TJ's face screws up under his paws. I hug him again. No, you only had a taste of the pain you're feeling on the inside. Now stop thinking about him. It's over. This whole thing is over. TJ starts crying softly again as I hold him close, letting him get it out of his system. Over his shoulder, I can see the ambulance lights flashing, though they don't have the siren on. I'm thankful for that, at least. My phone buzzes in my pocket a few times, but I ignore it, waiting until the Lynx's soft sobs taper out. Turn him away from the lake so he doesn't see the lights, and we keep walking slowly up the road. Less than a mile away, the motel sign glints in the sunlight. TJ shuffles along, continuing his quiet snuffling. Did you want to leave today? I don't know. Maybe. Well, let's get back to the motel and sit down for a while, okay? Then we can decide what we want to do. Okay. TJ's breathing evens out again as we get closer to the motel. But why do you think Flynn would do that? It doesn't make any sense. I shrug. Well, like I said yesterday, I think now that he knows he isn't going to get the answers he wants, he's just out to hurt us now. That's it, really. You were right. Guess I just didn't think he could be capable of that. You always see the best in people. There's nothing wrong with that. TJ doesn't respond, and we're silenced the rest of the way there. The first thing TJ does when we get inside is lay on the bed and stare at the ceiling. I check my texts and see that they're all from Jenna. They say Carl just broke his ankle and that he's going to be fine. Julian is driving me to the hospital so we can sit with Carl and bring him back when they're done. By the way, when they asked Carl what happened, he said he just slipped on a rock and fell. He said that's where the scratch came from, too. I assume he doesn't want us to tell anyone about what happened. You should think about checking out early. I'm probably going to a friend's house in Peyton after this. I stare at the last text, wondering what exactly it means. She's going to a friend's house and that's just it? Almost sounds like she's done with us. I guess one good thing came out of this then. Carl's going to be fine. He told the paramedics that he slipped on a rock, so I don't think he's going to be, pressing charges or anything. TJ covers his face, and I hope he isn't about to cry again. when he starts talking, his voice is steady and even. I'm going to have to see him before we leave. I don't want to leave the town. I don't want to leave this town like this. He sounds defeated, like he knows how things are ruined beyond any sort of repair. I suddenly feel a wave of compassion and love for the lynx, the one purely good person in this shit town. I get up and drape myself over the bed next to TJ. He looks up in surprise, ears perked and twitching, his tufts waving around in the most adorable way. Listen, I know we can't just forget what happened back there. I know we can't just fix everything, but I pause and wait until TJ looks up at me. I want to spend the rest of this weekend together and just have fun. There's not really much else we can do. TJ looks back up at the ceiling. But what about your project? I laugh. Dude, that doesn't matter anymore. I'll just retake the class over the summer or something. That doesn't sound good. I don't want to cause you to fail. You're not. I'm making this decision. TJ continues to stare at the ceiling, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. I don't know. It doesn't feel right. I just broke Carl's leg. Carl fell and broke his leg, TJ. No, I did it. Things are so messed up now. His voice starts to go up high again, and I quickly put a paw on his shoulder. Shh. I can't think about that anymore. It's over. I rub his shoulder comfortingly. You know what? Let's go to Peyton. Get out of this crappy town and do something, okay? TJ lets out a shuddery sigh. Maybe. I just need a minute. Okay. I roll over and look out the window through the blinds, feeling like I've accomplished something. Things went a little further than what I'd planned on, but it's working out for the best. My main issue now is figuring out what the hell Flynn and Carl were planning with all this bullshit and what all they know. Assuming it had been them at all, but as of right now, I can't imagine who else it could have been. I feel a little guilty about what happened to Carl, but I had to show everyone how stupid and crazy the whole thing was. And just then, I see Flynn's truck roll into the parking lot. I tense up, staring in disbelief. What the hell reason would he have to come here? I'm only frozen up for a moment before suddenly I swing my legs off the bed. I don't know if TJ's looking. I hope not as I start closing the blinds. I'll close these so the sun isn't shining in your eyes. I'm going to make a call to Jenna to make sure things are going alright, okay? I look back and I'm relieved to see TJ only now looking over at me. Okay, tell her I'm sorry. I will. Now get some rest. I try to not look like I'm in a hurry as I go to the door and open it just wide enough for me to slide out. Flynn's truck pulls into a parking lot space about 20 feet away and I jog over to him before he can get out. Hey, I say just as he opens his door. He looks at me coldly for a moment before getting out and slamming the door shut. Hey. We stand there awkwardly for a full 10 seconds, but Flynn doesn't say anything. You need something? Why do you think I'm here, Chase? I shrug. I have no idea, Flynn. Flynn stares at me for a few more seconds as he chews at a toothpick in his mouth. You were down by the lake. That's a really weird thing to assume, Flynn. Flynn scoffs. Don't play with me. I see ambulance lights over by the lake, and 10 minutes later I get a text from Carl telling me he hurt his leg. Really, Flynn? People go down by the lake all the time. Could have been anyone. No one goes down by the lake. I know you've been sneaking around the town doing shady shit with Tej and Jen. I keep on a straight face, refusing to crack under Flynn's pressure. The only reason why I didn't ask you what the fuck you were doing is because I know you all hate me right now. But if you really went down there together, that's fucked. Why is that fucked, Flynn? Because you decided it's off limits for everyone else because it makes you feel bad? Fuck off. Flynn's eyes widen for a moment. Do not fuck with me on this, Chase. You know that's the last thing I ever want to hear from you. It's strange how I feel right now. Normally I'd be trying to calm the lizard, try to talk him through his temper and past trauma. But now, I don't care. Just like with Carl, I don't care how far this goes. This is his fault in the end. I can't believe you, Flynn. You start this whole thing and now you try to act like the victim. It's fucking disgusting. Flynn gives me a baffled look. What are you talking about? You mean what I said by the river? Actually, yeah, that was probably the start of it. How does that lead to you assholes fucking around by the lake? You know exactly how. I watch Flynn carefully, trying to see if I can sense anything in his demeanor, in his expressions. I've never really known him to lie, but if he's lying right now, then he's fucking amazing at it because all I can sense is bewilderment. He must have a lot of experience with lying. Chase, what the fuck is up with you right now? What do you mean? You're acting like an ass. Oh, so now you know how we all feel when you talk to us. Flynn stares at me, studying me. Then he looks up. Who's here? No one. The fuck? Where's TJ and Jenna? Not here. Flynn glances down at me. Well, I gotta take a piss, so can I come in? No. We stare each other down for a long, long time. Finally, Flynn pushes past me. Well, I'm gonna give the door a knock to see if anyone's there. Maybe you missed them. I whirl around and follow him angrily. He doesn't want to talk to you. Flynn turns on me. Oh, so TJ's here then. Why didn't you tell me that? Why do you think? Flynn, you need to leave right now. Flynn glares down at me. I know you guys are up to something having to do with Sydney. If that's the case, then I have every right to know. Flynn starts walking again, and he has every right to talk to me himself. I dart around Flynn and stand in front of the lizard, glaring up at him, bracing myself once again. Get out of my way, Chase. Leave him alone. Flynn pauses. All I want to do is talk. That's it. I let out a mirthless laugh. After what you did at the river? Hell no. Flynn tries to push around me again. I grab his arm. He swings, tries to yank it back, and I shove him back towards his truck. Leave. I'd be yelling right now, but I don't want TJ to hear us through the thin motel walls. Don't fucking touch me and get out of my fucking way. He tries again, and this time I grab his arm and yank him away, swinging him like Leo did at the river. He might be tall, but I'm kind of amazed at how easily I can manipulate Flynn's body, like a mannequin. Either that, or I just don't know my own strength. Flynn rolls with a curse and immediately pops back up, taking an awkward swing at my head. Let me turn this down a bit. Fucking little prick. I duck his punch and tackle him around the waist, knocking us both to the asphalt as Flynn grunts loudly. Ugh. I scramble on top of the lizard and sit on his chest, pinning his arms under my knees. Again, he can barely move under me. Weak. Weak. I snarl down at him, raising a fist. Flynn flinches, closes his eyes, and turning his head away. I pause, letting the tension build. Finally, I slowly lower it. Leave, Flynn, otherwise I'm going to cave your fucking face in. I'm tired of you bullying TJ and taking out all your problems on the rest of us and just being a miserable piece of shit all your life. Wow. I keep my voice low, almost growling like a canine. Flynn cracks open an eye, looking up at me in fear. I fucking hate you. I always have, and you deserve to have every single one of your fucking teeth knocked out for the way you've always treated us. I look back toward the door, but it's closed. Quiet. I look back down at Flynn. Leave, and I never want to see your ugly fucking face ever again. Understand? Flynn just stares up at me. I can see the fear still, and maybe even a little hurt. What happened, Chase? I don't say anything. I know he isn't going to fight anymore. I get up, and Flynn lays there for a moment, staring at me. Finally, he rolls over and gets to his feet unsteadily. Then, without a word, gets back into his truck and starts it up. I turn away finally, hearing the lizard pull out of the parking lot as I open the door to the motel. I'm relieved to see TJ sitting on the bed, looking down at his phone. I was positive that he'd heard something. He looks up when he hears the door open. Hey. Hey, Tej. What did she say? Carl's good. The doctors are checking him out. She said you're fine and that she understands why you did it, but I guess she's a little stressed out too because she's going to a friend's house in Peyton. Oh. TJ's ears lower. I think she just wants to give you space. Maybe. I did get a text from Julian. Oh, really? There's that twinge of irritation. Yeah, said he was going to stop by after he drops off Carl. I was thinking we could wait until then before we leave. Talk to Julian at least. I don't think Carl wants to see me. Okay. I try to not let the anger creep into my voice as I sit down on the bed next to the lynx. And Chase? Yeah? TJ smiles at me through his puffy eyes and matted cheek fur. Thank you for being there for me. It means a lot. It's late afternoon by the time Julian arrives to pick us up from the motel. Things are predictably awkward at first as the stag drives us out of the town in silence. I'm just happy that I've managed to sit between him and TJ again, leaving the lynx to stare out his window as the desert landscape passes by. I watch Julian as his thumbs tap idly at the steering wheel before he suddenly sits up straight. Oh, Chase, you left your camera in the truck bed yesterday. I forgot to tell you. He glances over at me and I nod. Yeah. Probably should have remembered that. Do you want me to pull over so you can grab it out? I don't know how you feel about it sliding around back there while we're on the highway. I shrug. She'll be fine. It's probably been through worse considering it's a crap rental from the university. Ah. Julian starts tapping away at the steering wheel again. So, your friend seems okay. He'll need to rest for a few months to recover, but he didn't seem too worried about that. I snort. Of course not. Yeah. Anyway, what was it you guys wanted to do? Julian leans forward a bit to glance at TJ. I just wish he'd keep his fucking eyes on the road. I nudge the lynx and he snaps his gaze from the window to look at us. Huh? I was asking what you wanted to do tonight, TJ. Oh, I'm not really sure. We could go see a movie, maybe. Anything out that you wanted to see? Not really. You know, I used to do this thing where I'd get a random ticket to a movie I've never heard of before. I'd have no expectations, so usually I'd be pleasantly surprised. Oh, that sounds kind of fun, as long as it's not R-rated. Yeah, so the way I'd do... Why don't we go to the Familyplex? Cut Julian off, looking over at TJ. Familyplex? Yeah, you remember that place, right? We'd go there as kids for birthdays and stuff. The old rundown arcade thing at the mall? Yeah. TJ seems to perk up a bit. I haven't been there for like 10 years. That could be a lot of fun. If it's still open... I haven't been to that corner of the mall in a long time. It is. Well, alright then. Should we go there? There's a moment of silence before TJ shifts next to me. Yeah, let's do that. The Familyplex is basically as I remember it. Like TJ had said, a good decade had passed since we'd been here, maybe more. But the ugly stained carpet and sickly colored walls still cover the place, a real relic of the 80s and 90s. Still, I'm happy to see TJ smile as we walk in, his adorably wide eyes scanning the place as I'm sure he's hit with that same sense of nostalgia. Oh my gosh, everything is exactly the same. The look on Julian's face is slightly less enthusiastic. Even smells the same. I kind of like it actually. Reminds me of a movie theater. Same. It's really just the popcorn and recycled air from the AC. I realize then what a fucking stick in the mud Julian is, but I ignore him, instead following TJ as we make our way to the machines. Luckily, the place is mostly empty. There's a group of teenagers being loud and annoying over by the air hockey tables. But otherwise, we have the place to ourselves. Okay, hang on, I'm going to be silent for a bit. While I do something. Oh. For a moment we stand there, then Julian reaches into his pocket. You guys want to chip in some money and I can go get us a few rolls of quarters? I take out a 5 and so does Julian while TJ hands over a 10. Wow, Tej, that's a lot. I only have 10s. Besides, we'll go through them fast. We always do. Julian walks off to the front counter while TJ and I wait awkwardly next to the skee-ball ramp. I feel like things wouldn't be so tense if Julian wasn't here, and I feel myself getting progressively annoyed by his presence. I'm about to ask TJ how he's feeling when Julian comes back with 2 rolls of quarters. So we have 2 rolls. You want me to go count out your shares? Shares or... I shake my head. Doesn't matter. Yeah, we're just here to hang out anyway. TJ takes one of the rolls and tears off one end. You guys want a skee-ball? Sure. I've always been pretty good with this game. I take the open roll of quarters from TJ and take out one of my own, inserting it into the neighboring skee-ball machine. There were only 2, and I kind of hoped that Julian might just wander away but he stays right there behind TJ, watching. I sigh and insert my coin, watching as the little balls roll out into the little compartment. Meanwhile, TJ is having a terrible time. Each one of his balls rolling into the scoreless gutter. I roll my first ball and watch as it misses the 40 and rolls into the 10 gutter. Aw, don't worry about it, Tej. Want me to show you how? Julian moves next to me and I grit my teeth in annoyance, moving over a bit. The stag flicks the ball expertly down the ramp and it lands squarely in the 40. Wow! On your first try, too! Honestly, I'm out of practice, but usually I go for the 100s in the corner. How do you do it? Well, Julian grabs a hold of TJ's wrist and I feel my fur starting to stand up on my neck and shoulders. It's all on the wrist. Okay, is Chase kind of turning into Leo from Leo's route? He moves TJ's arm forward before bending the lynx's wrist. Oh, I see. He tries again and this time gets the 10, but on his second try he lands it in the 50. Nice. Julian holds up his paw and TJ slaps it loudly. The stag laughs and looks over at me. You alright, Chase? You still got 4 balls. Without a word, I turn back to my machine and huck the balls down the ramp, each one landing in the gutter. Meanwhile, I listen to Julian and TJ celebrate another 50. For the rest of the night, I follow TJ and Julian around, the stag showing the cat how best to play the games. All the while, I stand next to them, dumping my quarters into games that don't even finish. I just want us to run out so we can leave. The drive back is quiet and tense. TJ and Julian asked me multiple times at the family plex if I was alright until I finally told them I just had a headache. That stopped their questioning for the most part, and luckily that prompted TJ to propose we just go back to the motel. I tense up again when he offers Julian to spend the night there, but luckily the stag declines, wanting to go back home to his own bed. As we drive, I notice TJ nodding off, his head bumping the glass of his window. You can lean against me, Tej. TJ's ears flick, flushing a bit. Oh, really? I don't want to... As an answer, I reach over to clasp the side of TJ's face before I force the lynx's head to lean sideways against my shoulder. TJ stiffens up, but then he relaxes, and 5 minutes later, I can tell that he's fallen into a light sleep. Julian glances over at us occasionally, but doesn't say anything. I lean my cheek against the top of TJ's head. I realize how good it feels to sort of envelop him like this. It feels like I'm protecting him. All those bad, tense feelings from the arcade start to melt away. Pretty soon, I start to drift off as well, the smooth drone of the highway lulling me to sleep. I open my eyes and see the back of a rusty white sedan pulled off on the side of the road. Julian's pulling off as well, behind the car. The sun's already getting low in the sky, a little bit of cloud cover rolling in from the west. That's when I realize there's a large coyote standing next to the car, leaned over and looking at the front left wheel. She stands up when our headlights hit her, and she shields her eyes against the light. Janice. Julian shuts his headlights off. Looks like she's got a flat. TJ wakes up, and I'm a bit disappointed to feel him shift off of my shoulder. What's going on? Julian's already hopping out of the car, walking up to the now grinning Janice as she sets her paws on her hips. Well, now, what are you doing out here, Julie? I can hear her loud, obnoxious voice, even with the doors closed. Janice has a flat. Want to go back to sleep until Julian's helped her? TJ shakes his head, shifting himself to open the door and hop out. I sigh as he leaves, pushing myself across the seat to jump out as well. Chase and Tobias, too? She turns her psychotic grin on us. Yeah, we were having a night out. Anyway, do you need any help? Well, you know, Julian, I actually do. I don't have my own jack. Been missing for the past 15 years. Julian smiles back warmly. Well, I've got one. Do you have a spare? Yep, in the back. Hope it's not flat, too. Haven't had to use that thing in a while. Well, go ahead and pop the trunk and we'll see what we've got. I'll go get my jack. Julian jogs back to the truck while TJ and I stand behind Janice's car. Sadly, that's when the old coyote turns her attention on us. Well, how are you two doing this evening? I'm doing well, thanks. I want to thank you again for doing all that yard work during your vacation. Seems like I'm always out here just needing help. Oh, it was no trouble at all, ma'am. I'm happy to let TJ do the talking, just wanting to get this over with as soon as possible so that we can head back to the motel. I squint as Julian's headlights come back on and he hops out of his truck. Just want to give us a little more light. Janice pops the trunk and lifts it up, revealing a cluttered mess inside. She brushes it all aside and lifts up the flap, revealing an old, rusty spare tire. She nudges at it, testing the air pressure before lifting it out. Well, it's a little deflated, but it should be enough to get me to Duke's house. I know he's got a few tires I can probably use. If not, I'll just get him to drive out and buy me one. Julian kneels down next to Janice's car, setting up the jack. We stand there in silence for a bit, watching the stag as he works. Speaking of your vacation, it wasn't really a vacation for you, was it, Chase? My heart sinks a bit as the dumb Yodi turns her attention directly on me. I grunt politely and question, keeping my gaze on Julian to show Janice that I'm definitely not interested in what she has to say. Well, that grumpy lizard Flynn was telling me all about it in the diner a few days back. Something about you wanting to document the spooky stuff in town? I try to think of a way to keep things uninteresting, so she doesn't ask any more questions. Sort of. Mainly I just wanted to find some information on the murder that happened like 100 years ago. Couldn't find out much. Oh, Flynn made it sound like one of those made it sound more like one of those ghost documentaries that I like to watch sometimes. I had a few stories for you. I keep my eyes firmly on Julian's paws as he starts to crank the jack. Then TJ nudges me. Hey, are there any rules against it being a ghost documentary? I sigh, though I try to keep it quiet for TJ's sake. Well, it's more of a news piece, so a ghost story wouldn't really work, I don't think. Actually, I've seen segments on the news about ghosts. I don't know if they're serious, but when someone catches something on camera, sometimes they'll play it. I shrug. Well, even if that is the case, it probably won't get me a very good grade. It's better than no grade at all. TJ smiles encouragingly at me, and I can't help but smile back. He always has a way of cheering me up, no matter how bad of a mood I'm in. That's the spirit. Besides, it could just be about the history of it rather than making it seem real, even if it is real. I sigh again, though this time I don't try to cover it up. Janice either doesn't notice or doesn't care. So, would you like to hear him? Yeah. Let me grab my notepad real quick. I walk over to Julian's truck, listening to Janice as she babbles excitedly to TJ about how scary it is. Fucking love Janice. I try to unzip the bag, but the ledge of the truck bed is too tall, so I have to grab the whole fucking thing and trudge it back over to the car. I unzip the side pocket and pull out my notepad and pen. Then I stand up straight to look at Janice expectantly. A coyote sits on the ledge of the trunk, making the car shift. Julian pauses, eyes wide, as I'm sure he thought the sedan was about to topple off of the jack. Well, let's see. I can start with what my grandpa told me. Yeah, that works. Actually, that's great, because this happened right here in these very woods. Janice gestures off the side of the road at the trees. So, my grandpa was taking a walk in there with my grandma in, I want to say something in the 40s, right after they were married. They were walking along one of the little trails in there, and as they were, they started hearing this strange sound in the trees, like something scuttling up and down the branches. They kept looking but couldn't see anything. TJ hugs himself and rubs his arms with his paws. Wow, that's creepy. Oh, that ain't the half of it, Tobias. The thing is, as they kept walking, those sounds followed them, and then Janice lowers her voice, and despite my annoyance, I have to draw in a bit closer to hear her next words. They started to hear it talk. Hear what talk? TJ's fully drawn in by Janice's theatrics, and I have to struggle not to roll my eyes. Well, whatever it was, started talking down to them. Janice pauses and glances at me, and I make sure not to give her anything, staring glassy-eyed at my notepad. What did it say? Well, just strange things like, you're here, and I see you. Though my grandpa said he wasn't sure it was talking to them, really. He said that when it started to just laugh, that's when he and Grandma started running. Even then it followed them. He said it sounded like it was rising in the air and landing from tree to tree, following them until they got out. Okay, is that Flynn? Was it Flynn doing that? At this point, TJ is just frowning and I have to force myself to jot down the stupid notes. Well, what was it? Janice shrugs. Dunno. Grandpa only told me the story once when he wouldn't go on a family walk in the forest. I asked him why, and he told me. I asked Grandma too, but she just pretended she couldn't hear me. Thing is, my grandpa's not a liar. That I can promise you. I scribble in the notepad, pretending to write this all down. Oh, he also said it sounded mechanical, kind of like it was coming through a machine, computer. That's weird, because they didn't really have those back then. A moment of silence goes by as I wait for Janice to go on. When she doesn't, I look up. So, that's it? Oh yeah, did you think they'd actually see something? I shrug. Anything else? Janice thinks. Well, there's this bear up the road named Brian. One time he told me a story about seeing some aliens around here, UFOs and such. This time I can't stop my eyes from rolling, but again, Janice either doesn't see or ignores it. Said back when he was a teenager, he saw a flying saucer as he was passing by the lake. I don't even bother to move my pen, but Janice just keeps going. You know, I was listening to this podcast a while back. You know those radio shows on the internet? Oh yeah, I love listening to those when I work out. Well, there's this paranormal one I listen to that goes really in depth on this kind of stuff. And you know, we've all heard the story about gold in a quartz deposit. Yup. Well, Janice lowers her voice, leaning in like she's discovered the best kept secret in the entire world. In the podcast, we were going on about how places with lots of quartz end up being more haunted. You know why? I don't say anything, so TJ chimes in. Why? Well, the quartz captures stuff from the past, like really emotional, angry stuff. And sometimes, when things line up just right, they play it back. Only when they do, it's all twisted up and mixed with other stuff. Makes what you see really awful and horrible looking. But you know... Janice pauses once again. What? I think there's more to it than that. I think there's something with a conscious mind behind it all here in Echo. I finally have to break in. Has anything happened to you specifically? You know, it's better if I have something straight from the source rather than secondhand. Janice finally goes quiet again, eyes flicking down to look at the ground. Julian, meanwhile, has pulled off the tire and is fitting the spare in place. Well, maybe. I grit my teeth. What do you mean? Janice lets out a soft, mirthless chuckle. Let's just say I've seen things I've promised not to tell anyone about, Chase. I can't tell if she's joking or not, so I just go along with it. Oh, you ordered a hit on someone? Maybe, Chase. TJ stands there, a mortified expression on his face. I look down at my camera bag. Well, I think it might be good to get some footage of the trees in there while there's still a little light. If I'm going to do the whole ghost story thing, then I better give it a horror movie vibe. Oh, that sounds wonderfully spooky. I start towards the tree line, then look back at TJ. Want to come with? Oh! TJ looks back at Janice and Julian, the latter of which is screwing in the tire. Go on, TJ, give him some company in there, especially after I told y'all that story. Janice cackles, causing the car to shake again. Besides, I don't mind keeping Julian company in the meantime. Julian grunts as he keeps his focus on the tire. Well, okay. With that, TJ and I cross the ditch into the forest, following the little trail that weaves through the trees. As the darkness of the forest engulfs us, I look back at TJ and see him timidly moving along, looking at the trees nervously. I grin. Are you scared? TJ looks over at me with a start. Oh, he lets out a soft laugh. Yeah, maybe a little bit. I pause, waiting for the lynx to catch up to me. Then I hold out my paw to him. He stares at it for a moment, as if not comprehending what it is. I stubbornly keep it outstretched. No one's gonna see. TJ seems to think for a moment. Then I see the lynx wipe his paw on his pants before reaching out to take mine. Aw. If only this wasn't so toxic. I pull TJ along through the forest, glancing up occasionally to see if I can find a patch of sky sufficient enough for the shot I want. Don't worry, man. You know I saw something in here, too. What? TJ's busy looking off into the trees, his ears perked, listening. Yep, when I was a kid, I thought I saw a fox hanging from the trees. Oh my gosh, please don't tell me this right now. I frown. Listen, What I realize is that sometimes people hallucinate things. I'd rather just not talk about it right now. All I'm saying is that the stories that Janice told us aren't real, and even if they are, those people hallucinated. That's it. Well, sure, but that doesn't mean I won't still freak out if I do see something. I squeeze the lynx's paw in mine, shaking it around a little. Well, you've got me if that happens. TJ squeezes back. There's a slight resistance in his grasp, though, as if he's trying to pull back from me while at the same time holding on to me. Chase, have you been feeling alright? I feel fine. I stop on the path, looking up at a little patch of dusky sky above me, almost spherical and perfect for the shot that I'm going to get. Because you seem a little bit off, especially when we were at the family plex. And I know we've been a little off since what happened. I mean, I was feeling really, really weird the past few days. I set the bag on the path, unzipping the main compartment and pulling out the camera. Maybe you're feeling the same way that I was? I shrug, turning the camera on. I feel fine, Tej. TJ suddenly places a paw on my arm, and that gives me pause. Chase, are you sure? He's looking me directly in the eye, his paw pads warming the fur and skin under them, chasing away the chill of the evening. It's his wide blue eyes that catch my attention, though. They're sincere, kind, and full of love. It's then that I realize what TJ's trying to tell me. After all this time we've spent together over the week, getting to know each other better, talking about our future plans, it's only now that I realize. I stand up straight, facing the lynx more directly, a soft smile on my lips. TJ looks up at me, eyes looking all over my face as if searching for something. I lean in and kiss him. This is just awful. This is awful. It lasts a moment. Our lips meet, mine on his for the first time. It's a moment of pure bliss, and I close my eyes to show the link just how passionate I am about it. I feel his lips freeze up against mine, then suddenly they're gone. I open my eyes in time to see TJ stumbling backwards. One paw flies up to his mouth as the other stretches out behind himself, as if worried he's going to run into the trees. I guess I surprised him. I smile and follow the cat, reaching out my paws. You alright? As I reach for him, he pushes my paws away. I frowned. What? What was that? TJ's whispering, but it's a loud sort of whisper, almost deafening in the quiet forest. What do you mean? I kissed you, TJ. I love you. The look of pure shock and horror on TJ's face stuns me. What? What are you talking about? TJ, you're asking really dumb questions right now. You heard me. I feel myself getting a little irritated. I just bared my soul to him, and now he's acting like I just told him a terrible secret. But you mean like a friend? No, I mean like a boyfriend, a lover. I reach out again, but this time TJ twists away from me and then starts to back up, back the way we came from. I follow him. How come? I can see his rapid breathing, his wide eyes like a cornered animal. I feel myself getting angrier. What do you mean, how come? Do I need to explain it to you? TJ keeps backing up and I see what looks like fear in his eyes. I don't understand it at all. He starts to turn around, but I grab his arm. Hey! You flirt with me all fucking week and you're asking why? What the fuck are you talking about? Chase, let me go. He tries to pull away weakly, but I yank him forward so hard his teeth clack together in front of my Chase. He gasps. You make eyes at me across the table at the diner while we were doing yard work at Janice's house, and you don't get why? Why the hell am I getting so angry? Let me go! TJ's still whispering, but it's getting louder. So you were just leading me on. I feel my voice break as it rises in volume as well. What is happening? Why am I doing this? Is this a dream? Were you leading me the fuck on, TJ? I see tears brimming in TJ's eyes and he looks away from me like a kid that just got caught doing something wrong. Do I need to tell you again? TJ, I fucking love you. I've known it since I picked you up from college. Listen to me. I pull him closer, but as I do, he lashes out. I see a flash of light and the next thing I know, TJ's escaped my grasp. My paw's still stuck out in the air as I watch the lynx disappear through the trees. Soon, sounds of his footsteps fade as well, and I'm left alone in the deathly quiet forest. I stare for a long time, listening to the nothingness, maybe waiting for TJ to come back, or for Julian to come up the path to beat me up. But nothing happens. I don't know how long I stand there, but then when I look up, I see that the sun is finally set. I numbly lift the camera in my other hand, still holding on to it like I was when I kissed TJ. Slowly, I walk over to the bag and kneel down, putting the camera away. That's when I feel the nape of my neck prickle. TJ? I look back hopefully, but the path is empty. The forest, though. The trees and branches and leaves that outline the path just before it curves out of sight, just 15 feet ahead of me. There's a shape in the trees, a shape of legs, arms, a torso, and maybe a head. A shadowy figure seems to blend into the leaves, almost melting into the twilight. I blink hard, but when I open my eyes, the figure is still there, unmoving, unchanged. That's when I realize that even though I'm holding my breath, I can still hear breathing. It comes from the direction of the shape, even though it doesn't move at all. It looks like a painting. Slowly, I stand up. It doesn't move. I start to walk forward, and that's finally when it changes. It starts to melt back into the trees, but the branches and leaves don't move. It moves through them. Then, as I reach the bend in the path, it fades into nothing. But the breathing continues. I look around finally and see that it's gotten dark to the point that I can hardly make anything out. Everything that you see is twisted from what it once was. But what is it? It was something once, just like I was, but nothing here is obligated to make sense to you. But what does it want? What does anything here want? The only thing you know for sure is that it's evil. And just like that, I'm running up the rest of the path, feeling as if the branches are clawing at me, trying to pull me back into the forest. And still, the breathing continues just over my shoulder, growing ragged with my own, following me, chasing me. I feel it closing in on me, gasping, taking on a robotic tone, as if someone's taking their last breaths through a phone. And I'm the one on the other end listening to it. The crackling breath hisses out, then rises up into a screech of static noise, and I break through the trees, landing in the process and jamming 2 fingers into the process as I throw my paws out to catch myself. I don't care, though. I scramble out of the ditch, gasping for breath. I look up, hoping to see TJ, Julian, even Janice, but no one's there. Both cars are gone. I'm left alone on the road in the silence and increasing darkness. This is fucked. I walk back to the motel alone. I hope to see Julian's truck in the parking lot when I get there, but it isn't. Instead, there's the typical 2 or 3 cars along with my own. I still have hope as I make my way to the door. Maybe TJ will be in the bathroom taking a shower. Maybe he'll already be asleep. Maybe he'll be awake and we can just forget what happened, chat until it's late, order a pizza like we did at Carl's house. But as I press the keycard to the lock and it flashes green and I open the door, I don't see TJ at all. It's dark and empty. That's finally when I realize that TJ's left me as well. My mind is blank as I walk through the motel room, only then realizing that I left the camera in the forest. I don't care though. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters anymore. I curl up on the bed and cry for a long time. I don't care how loud I am. I'm sure if anyone here hears it, they've heard worse. The employee at the front desk probably hears it every week because that's just the way the town is. I fall asleep. When I wake up, I can't move. I don't care, though. It doesn't matter anymore. Even though I know better, I open my eyes. Weirdly enough, the motel is as I left it, disheveled with the lights on. Nothing horrible at all, till I hear footsteps at the base of my bed. I brace myself for it, but I keep my eyes open. I don't know why, because it feels like I'm punishing myself for what I did to TJ. I lay there on my side, curled up and waiting as the footsteps make their way around the bed. I don't know what I expect my mind to conjure up. Maybe the demon in the forest, the evil electric creature that breathed in my ear as I ran from it, jumping from tree to tree behind me. But what I didn't expect to see is a small, old kit fox in a button-up shirt and a tie. I watch as he sets a card down on a little table next to my bed. I get a moment to see a silver ring on his finger and the worn black claws. Then he picks up a bottle from the table that isn't there and takes a swig from it. Then he moves over to the closet, rod, clothes that I don't recognize hanging from it. He's got a cord of some kind in his paws. He starts to tie it up on the rod while the other end gets tied around his neck. I know what he's doing, and I try to close my eyes, but something seems to hold them open. This is too real. The fox braces himself against the wall, and I see his face clearly. Kind, weary, hopeless. And then he sits, but he doesn't completely sit because the cord pulls taut and he's left with his legs at a loose slant on the ground. I see his eyes bulge, turning red. At the same time, those eyes meet mine, and I think he sees me. I gasp and sit up in the bed, but he doesn't disappear. He lingers. It's only when he starts to go into convulsions that he begins to fade away. I hug my knees, my back pressed against the headboard of the bed as the fox continues to stare at me, then completely disappears. It was real. It was real. Was. Something's different. Something's wrong in the air. A sound from the bathroom makes me look over at the closed door. Something's in there. Automatically, I get up. It's like I'm not in control of my own body anymore. It's like I'm still in a dream, even though I know I'm not. I get to the door and stand there a little while, listening to the breathing inside. And then I open it. I stand there for a while, staring in. The light from the room pours into the bathroom, but it isn't enough to show me anything out of the ordinary. I feel it, though. There's an energy in there pulling me in. Slowly, I step inside, looking around, my heart hammering in my chest. I'm not scared. Not anymore. It's a sort of anticipation instead of fear, like I've been waiting for this ever since I got to Echo. I don't know if I believe in ghosts now, but I know what's happening here is real. I wait, feeling the cold tiles of the bathroom against the pads of my feet. I'm not sure how long I stand there in complete silence. It could be anywhere from 1 minute to 10, but that's when I finally get an answer. Close the door. Close the door. I don't hear anything, but I feel it, and I feel it coming from my left. I look, but I don't see anything. This isn't like the other times when I'd hear him inside my head. No, the voice inside me is hiding right now, like even he's afraid of this. Still, I sense it, and even though I start to feel that fear again, I reach out for the door. Close it, close it, close the door. For a brief moment, I have a sudden realization of where I am, what I'm doing, and what's happening, but that's not enough to stop me. There's a haze over my mind, over everything, like I'm in a deep, dark dream that I can't come up from. I think I've lost my mind, or I'm dead. Either way, it doesn't matter anymore. I push the door closed, but not fully, letting just a crack of light in so that through the mirror, I can see the outline of the fur on the left side of my head. But as I'm looking at that, I start to get the feeling that it's not me in the mirror. I look shorter, smaller, and something's wrong with my face. I can almost see what looks like the corner of a mouth stretched all the way across my jaw. Just like I saw in the diner bathroom 5 days ago? I don't know. It feels so long. But it's then that I realize the presence I feel is coming from this thing in the mirror. We stare at each other for a long time, the fear rising and rising until it's almost overwhelming. But my feet won't move. My mind won't reason with what's happening. I'm in a nightmare. This is real. The mirror whispers at me, and I see the grotesque mouth move with the raspy, whispering words. Slowly, I move a little closer to the mirror, ducking my head down a bit, reaching up to touch my cheek where I see the widened gash of a mouth. The reflection does the same, but when I touch my face, I only feel smooth fur, even as the fingers in the mirror brush against the opening. What's happening? I ask myself, but my reflection responds. It's been happening for eons. What was supposed to happen to everyone else in this town, but you stopped it. What? Coming back here with your secret. Almost started it, but now that everyone's about to find out? What are you talking about? This town might actually survive. If they found out. Find out what? I bring both paws up to press against the sides of my face, as if to cover up the gaping mouth. You know what? I squint at the reflection, trying to figure out why it looks so familiar. Sydney? There's a raspy rustling sound, and I see the thing in the mirror shake, its head twitching from side to side, far too fast to be anything of this world. I take a step back. Dread rises in my chest. No, this was supposed to be over. I'm not supposed to see things anymore. You always knew they were wrong. Always knew that what you saw was real. Nothing normal about this. But it's not me seeing things again that's got me feeling the way I do. No. What secret are you talking about? Again, that raspy sound of rustling leaves, sounding old and forgotten. That's what it feels like I'm talking to. Something old, monolithic, and ancient. You don't need me to tell you. I grasp my shirt, twisting the fabric in my paws, feeling like I might panic, that I might go insane. Already insane. But how is anyone going to find out? No one knows. You know that's not true. Who is responsible for the cruel joke? I swallow hard. Someone knows. No, that was something else. They didn't know. It was a stupid prank on me, to make me look bad, to ruin our vacation. Vacation? Is that what I'm on right now? That thought is foolish, and you know it. It was definitely foolish. And you know who it was, and after what you did to him. I see myself pinning the lizard in the parking lot, holding back from pounding his face into nothing. He's going to tell everyone. No. I hear myself whine, feeling like a child, like the small creature in the mirror. Yes, unless... I wait, feeling tears well up in my eyes, knowing that my life is about to change forever. The silence drags on until I finally break it. What? I can help you keep the secret. I'll wait a while longer, but the reflection stays quiet. I get the sense that time is going faster than I perceive it. My legs aching from standing here rigidly on the cold tile floor. Help me? I can tell you what you can do to keep things the way they are. I feel a small ray of hope pierce through the towering cloud of impending doom in my chest. How? There's a dark pause, a moment that marks an in-between, between what was and what's about to become. I know things can't truly stay the way they are. They never do. Another split in my life, just like what happened years ago. Finally, the thing speaks, and I hear exactly what I expect. Do the same to the lizard. I swallow, feeling myself resisting, rejecting the idea. Unless you want them all to know your secret. But how do I know it was him? He sounded like he had no idea what we were doing. He is deceptive, a liar. His entire family has always been. But I can't. If I don't know for sure, show him the note. You'll see his reaction. Truth. My paw drifts to my pocket, feeling the gentle outline of folded paper. Who are you? The rustling leaves again, and I realize that while this might be Sydney, it's something more than Sydney. And it doesn't answer me. We stand there for a long time again. Minutes? Hours? I don't know. Why would you help me? This time the answer is immediate. This town needs secrets. Why? Again, no answer, and I stand there for what feels like hours. As I continue to stare at the small, disfigured creature, I get the feeling that it's starting to move independent from me. That thought scares me, and I lift my paws. I'm relieved to see the reflection do the same, but as soon as I touch my face, I feel the corner of my mouth stretched up to my ears. In a sudden burst of panic, I lunge for the light switch and flip it on. I'm stunned as I'm bathed by blinding yellow light, and I have to shut my eyes for a moment before opening them. I see myself in the mirror as I've always been, staring back blearily. My eyes are bloodshot, and my figure seems to sag with exhaustion. I stand there for a while, feeling my mind cloud up even more as I go over what just happened. Then a violent shiver comes over my body, like I'm suffering a high fever. I feel sick. My skin is sensitive and my joints are sore, and after a moment I move back into the motel room. I can see that it's light outside through the curtains. How long was I in there? Must have been hours. I don't care though. Still shivering, I head for the closest bed, sliding under the covers in my clothes and laying my head against the pillow. I realize then this is Jenna's bed, and I can smell her perfume, along with a faint scent of fox musk on the pillow. Where was she again? I can't even remember through the haze in my head. I think I fall asleep, but I'm not sure. A sudden knock at the door makes me jump. I curl up tighter under the covers, hoping that I just dreamed it, or that whoever is outside just goes away. Then the knock again, followed by Leo's voice. Otter? You in there? I cringe, squeezing my eyes shut, having completely forgotten about him. Why had he chosen to show up now? I lay still for a moment, then he yells again, which makes me jump out of the bed, cringing at the pain in my joints. Groggily, I stumble to the door, leaning against it for a moment, as I feel lightheaded, trying to gather myself. Finally, I fix my face into a tired smile before opening the door. Leo stands there, his ears perked, eyes wide as if he hadn't expected me to open the door. Oh, hey Chase, are you alright? He reaches out to rest upon my shoulder, looking me over. Yeah, was up all night doing my project. I left it until the last minute. I give him a sheepish grin. Leo clicks his tongue at me. Isn't that due tomorrow? Aren't you driving home all day today? I shrug. I'll be fine. If you say so, Otter. He continues to stare at me with a look of concern. What's up? Well, I guess I'm just sorry that I haven't been around more this week. I guess I was just being a bit unfair to you. I rack my brain for a reason why Leo's apologizing to me, or how exactly he'd been unfair to me. I guess I've just been a bit down because you weren't talking to me as much as I thought you would. Oh, had Leo been avoiding me all week? I hadn't even noticed. Oh, it's alright. I was wondering why you hadn't texted me. I'd been missing you. Leo's ears flatten and I see a look of shame cross his face. You could have texted me too, you know. I didn't want to bother you. I could tell you weren't all that happy. Leo lets out a big sigh, letting his shoulders droop. I'm sorry, Chase. Guess I just felt kind of shitty after what Flynn did, and you just kind of went quiet. I scratched the back of my head. Yeah, I can't deny that he kind of ruined the vibe of the whole trip, but I really should have called you afterwards. I'm sorry too. My dad did call me into work every day, so I guess it would have been hard to work things out anyway. That sounds familiar. He's still making you work weekends too? Usually, yeah. Leo looks past my shoulder into the motel room. Anyway, when I texted Jenna, it sounded like something was wrong. I guess she's already back in Pueblo? I shrug. Yeah, I think the tension got to her in the end and she took off early. She was complaining about Flynn the entire time she was here. Leo lets out another big sigh. Great. He's been acting strange too. Oh yeah? I silently hope that the wolf isn't going to ask to be let in. Yeah, driving around, acting all shady. That's actually what made me want to visit you, to see if everything was okay. Carl isn't even responding to me. I'm good, just tired and stressed out. Is Tej here? He's usually hanging out with an old friend in Peyton right now. He's actually hanging out with an old friend in Peyton right now. Once he comes back, we're going to start driving back. I was actually in the middle of a nap. Oh, sorry. You want me to get back to that then? I smile guiltily. Yeah, that would probably be for the best. Don't want to nod off on the road, you know? Of course. Leo looks at me hesitantly. Listen, I know this was probably going to be our last time getting together before we all split off, but you want to try this again in the future? Maybe over the summer when you don't have school to worry about? I just feel like we left a lot unsaid. It doesn't have to be everyone, and maybe this time I'll just tell Flynn not to come around. I smile back at Leo. Yeah, that sounds good. I think that'd be a great time. Leo smiles back, looking genuinely relieved and happy. That's so good to hear, and I'll be sure Dad knows that I want the week off. Good luck with that, and I'll let TJ and Jenna know. Thanks, Chase. Leo stands there for a moment and steps forward to give me a hug. I hug back tightly before letting him go. I stand in the doorway until Leo's van pulls out of the parking lot, heading in the direction of the highway, probably on his way to work. Once he's gone, I deflate, feeling as if that one conversation had been equal to hours of hard labor. Still, watching him go, I get a sense of sadness, like this was the last time we'd see each other the way we are now. Yo, did it just go automatically? No. I stumble back to the bed, almost falling before I catch myself on the edge with both paws. I stare at the square patterns on the comforter, feeling a little sick. For a moment, I hear whispers from the dark bathroom, but I don't even look up to see if I can see that figure in the mirror. I wish I'd closed the door, but I'm not going near that place again. So I just curl back up on the bed, facing away from the bathroom, closing my eyes. I'd gotten bored of skipping rocks pretty quickly. Leo was so good at it, he could skip them over the water 5 times before they sunk. Even Jenna could do at least 3. Mine would splat once and sink like the stones they were. After Leo laughed at my last one, I glared and decided to go farther down the beach where no one else could go. Hey, not on the way of the rocks. You're going to get hit. Leo telling me to be careful only made me more angry, and I cut through the water, far below the surface so they couldn't see me. I go back in the direction where we came from, wondering if Sydney and Toby are in the shallows, that I might be able to surprise them. When I come around the curve in the beach, I see that they are in fact in the shallows, but I can tell immediately that something isn't right. Toby's flat on his stomach in the water. Sydney is sitting on his back. Toby has just enough room that his head barely sticks out of the water. As I poke my head up, I can hear the cat sobbing. Sydney isn't saying much at all. He's got a strange look on his face. It's a look that I've seen before, like the time he'd covered Toby's mouth and nose when he'd had him pinned down and we'd had to pull them apart. That same look when he'd thrown a dirt clot in a rock with a rock in it at the lynx's head. A look that was determined, almost empty, but completely fascinated with what he was doing. Almost like he liked it. Something about this situation scared me, though. The other times we'd been here to help separate them or stop Sydney from going too far. But now, looks like he was trying to kill the cat. Every now and then, a wave would slosh over Toby's mouth and nose, and he'd yell and struggle frantically, begging Sydney to get off. But Sydney just sat there, enamored with his own cruelty. He was going to kill Toby, just like he killed his dad. My vision blurs as I go under and speed toward them. I leap out of the water to knock Sydney off the lynx as hard as I can. Sydney falls back in the water before quickly pushing himself back up. I see the look of horror on his face, not at what I'm about to do to him, but because he got caught doing something bad. Not just bad, but weird and scary, and something that no one should ever do, not even if you're a kid. I don't think he could ever explain why he liked doing it. That look imprints itself in my mind. TJ runs off. I don't know where to. I try to get Sydney to tell me what he was doing for a while. I don't remember exactly what happened, but I get angry. I throw a punch. It misses and hits him in the throat instead. He lets out a hard cough, reaching up with both paws to clutch at his neck. He manages to stumble to his feet without using his paws, his Luce Lobo swim trunks wetly clinging to his legs. I don't give him a chance to stand for long. I tackle him again and grab his neck, shoving it underwater. He scrambles frantically. I feel a dark satisfaction in my chest at the way I can hear his screams through the bubbling of his exhaling breath. I finally let him go after a good 10 seconds, and he comes up, gagging and choking. He starts to scramble away on his paws and knees before getting up. I see snot hanging from his nose and chin as he stumbles, snorting out water, and I can tell he's about to cry. You tried to kill me. I'm telling Leo, you tried to murder me. So that was it. For some reason, the way he immediately tried to put that on me, it was then that I believed he was trying to kill TJ. Maybe not even on purpose. Maybe just waiting for it to accidentally happen. I don't know. But now he was going to make everyone think I'm a murderer. Even though we all knew he did it. He stumbles away and I go after him, grabbing him. He's trying to kill me! His voice is weak and so is his body, especially in the water. I poke my head up through the waves in front of the others. Otter, move! We're going to hit your head! I shrug my shoulders, dipping under the water again so that I can hug myself and tremble alone. Again, Time passes in a way that I'm not familiar with. 5 seconds, 5 minutes. What the hell? 5 seconds, 5 minutes, 5 hours pass when my phone starts to ring. There's something ominous about it, something I can't explain, but I feel it deep in my bones, like the aches in my joints. I open my eyes and see my phone just a foot in front of my face, vibrating over and over. I see the blank contact image on the screen with the name Julian written under it. For a moment, I wonder why I have his number, why I have his name attached to it. Then I remember it's because we'd exchanged numbers during the scavenger hunt, so that I could call him to meet up. Slowly, I reach out and press the green button to answer. I raise it to my ear, waiting, but only getting silence on the other end. Hello? Hey, Chase? Julian's voice sounds hesitant, like he's not really sure about what he's doing, like he doesn't know me. Yeah? Hey, so something happened that I thought you or at least someone should know about. I slowly sit up, the blanket falling away from my shoulders. What's up? Well, TJ spent the night over at my place after what you did. Oof. Julian's voice takes on a hard edge, and for a moment I'm not sure what he's talking about. Then I remember the forest and what happened there. For some reason, the thought doesn't create the horrible empty guilt I'd felt yesterday. In fact, I feel nothing. Anyway, we got him a bus ticket back to CCU, and we were hanging out until the departure time, which was an hour ago now. Yeah? Well, that lizard guy showed up. Flynn? He showed up at my house. I don't know how he knew where I lived, but I think Janice told him. My heart skips a beat. Anyway, he wanted to talk to TJ, and eventually TJ told me that I could just wait inside. So I did, and after a while when I looked, they were gone. Gone? Yeah, and so was his truck. Pretty sure TJ went with him. I don't know, but they were both acting really strange, so I don't feel good about it. TJ won't respond to my texts either. I see. So, since your number is the only one I have from your friend group, I thought I should tell you so you can let the others know too. Alright, I'll do that. Alright. There's a pause, but I'm already getting up, looking for my keys. I'll probably check things out myself before my shift today. You know where Flynn lives? I can tell that the Buck doesn't really trust me with this information. And why would he? I don't care, though. Yeah, he's on Shepherd Street. Janice will be able to point out where it is for you. But I'm heading over now. Let me know if you find anything out. I will. Later. Bye. I feel my heart rate picking up speed as I finally find my keys under my backpack on the table. I snatch them up and jog out of the motel, the heat of the afternoon sun coming over me in a wave. I realize then how late it is. I'd been in the motel for nearly a full day, but to me it felt like only a few hours, if that. I should be on the highway right now, if not already back in Pueblo. But I realize that none of that matters now. As I sit down in the oven-like heat of my car, I see it staring at me from the back seat. I'm not afraid of it, at least not right now. It means that I'm on the right track, I think. I'm doing what I was meant to do. I know where Flynn and TJ are. He probably thinks that's the best place to get the truth out of TJ. His truck sits there in the small parking lot alone, gleaming in the setting sun. I pull up right next to it and look inside. Empty. I park and shut off the engine, jumping out and jogging toward the faint trail through the sagebrush. I know exactly where to go. Instead of turning right like we did yesterday to go to the boulder, I take a left. I haven't been on this part of the beach in over a decade, not since it happened. I know this is the right direction though, and soon enough, I see the bend on the beach that turns into the shallows we've played in so many times. I also see an odd set of tracks leading in that direction. Flynn's footprints, not hard to recognize with their long, clawed toes. But there's another pattern next to them. They aren't footprints, but drag marks, like Flynn had been dragging something next to him. I pick up the pace and start to run, breath catching in my throat, a feeling of not being able to turn back looming over me like a dark fog. The water and sand around me is starting to tinge a soft red with the setting sun. For a moment, I wonder what would happen if I stop. What if I turned back instead of turning this corner? I know that my life will turn out very, very differently if I do. That thing in the mirror, the town, it told me so. But I feel like I'm on a set of train tracks cutting through the desert with no alternative path to speak of. And I've been on this track ever since I decided that I need to protect TJ. As I turn the corner, I see them immediately. TJ is sitting on the beach, his knees drawn up to his chest as he stares downward. Flynn is standing over TJ, his paws on his hips, looking down at the cat. Looks like he'd been thrown there by the lizard, and I finally feel rage replace the anticipation and fear. It's finally going to happen, and now I want it to. Hey! Flynn immediately whirls around, eyes wide as he spots me sprinting toward him. He takes a step back as I get closer, but I skid to a stop 10 feet away, glaring at him as my paws clench into fists. What the hell are you doing? I scream at him, wanting to let him know just how pissed I am. It feels good, finally not being afraid or worried about what's going to happen, because now I know there's no other option. Flynn looks taken aback for a moment, looking me up and down before he straightens up. He hasn't forgotten what happened between us yesterday, and I can tell that he's afraid of me. Get the fuck out of here, Chase. This isn't about you. You fucking bet it is. I look at TJ, and he's gone back to staring at the ground, expression vacant. What are you doing to him? I'm not doing anything to him except asking him some questions. About? You know exactly what about. He's trying to confirm your secret. Get away from him. I say each word with deliberation, taking a few steps closer to the lizard. Flynn steps back again, but only with one foot, and he doesn't back away any further. You stay the fuck away from me, Chase. And what the hell have you been doing this whole week? Flynn seems to grow a little more confident with that. What do you mean? I stop and cross my arms, waiting. What I asked yesterday, after what happened to Carl, I think I'm owed a fucking explanation. I feel the anger rise up even more in my chest. You want an explanation after the shit you've been pulling? Flynn once again looks taken aback by my anger. The hell are you talking about? My paw moves to my pocket. You know exactly what I'm talking about. That fucked up scavenger hunt that you sent us on, that you started with Carl. Flynn gapes at me. What? I feel some of my resolution dissolve as the lizard's face looks completely bewildered. He's lying. Anger swells once again. Quit fucking lying to me. I know what you did, and I know what you think happened. Flynn steps forward. Chase, get the fuck out of here. This isn't about you. TJ's telling me what happened. I look down at TJ, again at that vacant stare. What did he tell you? Leave. This isn't about you. Flynn walks up to me, giving me a hard shove in the chest. I stumble back. Really? I feel my paw reaching into my pocket as if of its own accord. I grasp the note, and even though my nerves fail me as I'm pulling it out, it seems to happen on its own. Then what the hell is this? I unfold the note, ripping the old paper in the process, but it's intact enough when I present it in front of the lizard's face. Flynn's brow furrows in confusion for a moment before he takes it roughly from my paws. He stares at it, eyes scanning the page as if looking from it all angles. Finally, his eyes flick up to look at me. What the fuck is this? He whispers hoarsely. I look straight back at him, waiting for the expression of familiarity, the guilt, the knowledge that the piece of paper is his own doing. But instead of what the mirror promised, I get shock and confusion instead. Just like that, I feel my determination break down. It was as if something had been driving me to this moment, and that cloud covering my brain breaks for a moment. For a moment, things are clear, and I'm left in a daze. What is this? His voice turns into a scream, and it's such a horrible sound that I stumble back. He holds the paper up, showing me, and I stare as if I've never seen it before. Unlike the other notes, this one is a crude drawing. On the far left of the page, a small stick figure with lynx's ears kneeling on a beach surrounded by clams and starfish. He's covering his face, tears falling to the sand below. Extending out from the beach, poorly drawn waves spread across the top of the page to represent the lake. Far below the waves, two figures are connected near the bottom of the page. One has X's for eyes, his legs and arms splayed out, tiny little bubbles coming up from the mouth. Below that figure, another sits below him, grinning mischievously, holding the drowning stick figure down by his tail. As if the picture wasn't descriptive enough, words and arrows label the characters. Toby sitting on the beach, Sydney dead in the water, and Chase holding him down. I'd looked at the drawing so many times before, but now to have Flynn be the one to show it to me? But he had to have been the one to draw this. Who else could have done it? But here he was, standing there in a state of shock just like me, but I could see his expression very quickly morphing into fury. All my plans to confront him, to figure out how he found out or thrown out the window, because he just found out. I'm completely unprepared, and conveniently, the presence that spurred me on has left as well. And it's only now that I realize how stupid this all was. It's like I've been tricked. Chase. Flynn's walking toward me, and his expression is like nothing I've seen before. Chase. I can see in his eyes what he's about to do. I back away, stumbling. That's when he rushes, tackling me to the ground and crushing me into the hard, sharp rocks underneath. Unlike yesterday, all of my strength and confidence has abandoned me. It's like whatever has been driving me has left me right at this moment, taken several steps back to watch. Like it wanted this to happen all along. Flynn's fists find my face, first one on the right side, then another on the left. Each one brings a flash of light to my vision, and at that moment all sense leaves me. It's kind of nice in a way, like I don't have to be present for the horror that I've brought on myself. A few more punches come my way, the impacts like earthquakes in my head, but I don't feel any pain. Instead, they leave me feeling stunned, like I'd been electrocuted. I can feel blood pouring from my nose like a faucet, though, and soon it fills my mouth with that familiar metallic taste. You fucking piece of shit. You think you can just play with me like this? His strong, big hands find my neck and start to squeeze. Through blurred vision, I can see him above me, eyes filled with tears, glaring down at me with a rage that I didn't think was possible. You little shit! You won't fucking get away with this shit this time! I can hear the rustling leaves again. My reflection, Sydney, the town, whatever it is, laughing at me. Vaguely, I wonder if Flynn had been spurred on by it too. Or puppets. Nothing seems real right now. What's happening to me? To Flynn? What's happening between us? It seems impossible, but the breath that's stuck in my throat is very real, and I start to see stars and blackness begin to cloud my vision. After the things I've done, I guess I deserve it. I guess this is the appropriate way to go out. Flynn. A soft voice coming from the distance. It was me. I did it. Hands come away from my throat, and I take in one massive breath, like I'm coming up from the water after being under for far too long. Spit and blood go down my throat and into my lungs, and I roll over, letting out a great cough, spraying the rock in front of my face with dark drops of blood. What? I watch blood drip to the flat rock in a steady rhythm from my nose, having to breathe extra hard through my mouth because of it. I said I did it. It was an accident. I pushed him out into the water, and he drowned. I grabbed the rock, stumbling to my feet, feeling that old anger return. He's going to kill Toby. Stop him. I stumble unsteadily to my feet and turn to see the lizard with his back to me, approaching TJ. He will never leave Toby alone, just like Sydney. I stumble after them, hand tightening around the rock, the back of Flynn's head in my sights. What did you say? But you can stop it for good. Break the circle. I'm a few steps away from Flynn when I swing, bringing it down on his head as hard as I can. The sound is awful. Immediately, Flynn bends over, screaming in pain as his paws come up to clutch the back of his head. I swing again, this time glancing off the top of his head, most of my power robbed by the poor angle. Flynn turns up to me, still crouched low, and tries to tackle me. I stay on my feet for the most part, but I'm pushed back several feet as I grab onto his back for support. I feel the cold water on my feet. That's when I grab the lizard under his armpits and start to pull his mouth out further. Flynn doesn't seem to realize what's happening until the water's up to our knees. He stands up straight, and I see the blood running down his face from his head. He's glaring at me, expression wild, gaze clouded just like mine, and he takes a swing at me. It lands on my jaw. My head is snapped to the side, and another flash fills my vision. I'm able to grab that paw and swing him out further into the lake. The lizard stumbles in the shallows, standing up, waist deep, and that's when I throw myself at him with everything I've got. I tackle him into the water, and we're both submerged. I feel the change in Flynn's demeanor. The change as he realizes that he's gone from fighting for the truth to a fight for his life. Claws come out and scratch at my arms, but I ignore it, the cold of the water numbing any pain that I might have felt. I kick us further out into the lake, my powerful tail and body coming into play, doing what I was built to do. I know I knocked the breath out of Flynn when I barreled into him, so he doesn't have much time before he needs another breath. I'm not going to give it to him. I thrust us both through the water, downward against the rocks and sand below us. He grasps at me, kicking with his feet, and I catch a glimpse of his face then. It's not angry anymore, or clouded. Instead, he stares at me with shock and utter disbelief. I'm killing him, and he realizes it. He also realizes the truth then. I see it in his eyes. What he's wanted to know for the past decade, he realizes in the last minutes of his life. He kicks at me with his feet, his movements becoming even more desperate. His paws move to my neck, trying to choke me again, but it's useless. I already have my breath. I watch bubbles spurt from his muzzle, then all at once in a gush. His paws go from strangling to pleading. He grabs me by the shoulders, shaking, tugging, looking in my eyes. But I'm relentless, that feeling of not being able to turn back too strong. His muzzle opens, trying to breathe, but only taking in water. His thrashing turns up a notch, scratching my legs with his claws as he kicks even harder. This second burst of desperation only lasts a few seconds, though. His movements growing more and more tired, weaker and weaker. He's not looking at me anymore, eyes staring past me toward the glimmering surface above. A place I'll never let him see again. His movements become more sporadic, like he's having convulsions. My instincts tell me to let him go, to end this insanity, but my paws don't let me. I close my eyes and press harder. After a few more minutes, I don't feel any more movements. Slowly, I let him go, careful not to look at his face. His body stays still for the most part, moving back and forth gently with the current. I kick to the surface, my limbs numb as I break through to the cold air above. Oh my god. I feel myself along through the rocks. I pull myself along through the rocks, gasping and feeling incredibly weak for some reason. My stomach lurches, and for a moment I feel as if I'm going to throw up. I stay there on my hands and knees, staring into the water at my reflection. My face looks blank, and for a moment I see the horrible gashed mouth. I know I'm crying, even if the lake water is covering it up. Bro, like that entire time, I was pretty sure I was going to start crying. Like, the entire time Chase was killing Flynn. What happened? But as I look up and as I see TJ there, everything comes together. He's on his knees, staring past me, mouth hanging open. Suddenly I remember why it is this all happened. As my chest fills with warmth and love for the cat as I stumble toward him on my knees. TJ doesn't seem to notice me as I wrap my arms around him, pressing his face into my chest. Oh my god. Okay, I'm going to hide the UI just so we can take a moment to see how truly fucked up this is. Because this is extremely fucked up. I've got you. We're okay. He's not gonna hurt you anymore. I breathe heavily into the lynx's ear as I whisper to him, wanting to let him know that everything's going to be okay. Finally, I feel him shake his head against my body. Chase. Why? Because he knew, and he was never going to leave us alone. He tried to kill us. I kissed the top of the cat's head gently, wanting him to know how much I cared. Is he... He's gone. TJ sobs against me, but I only hug him tighter. Why did you do that? He reaches out to my left and I look, seeing the paper and the lake. I'm not sure which one he's talking about, me showing Flynn the paper or killing him. I don't know, so I don't answer. Instead I hug him even tighter, whispering in his ear. It'll be just like last time. We won't tell anyone. Or secret. Something turns ominous in the air. That horrible tension I'd felt dissipate when we opened the letter returns. This town needs secrets. We'll tell them he tried to kill us, we had to protect ourselves. TJ leads tiredly against me, his arms limp. We're gonna be okay, just like last time. We can forget. TJ doesn't respond, so I look up to the lake and get a shock as I see Flynn floating there, close to the shore. It's face down, back just barely touching the surface. For a moment, I wonder if it's not too late, if there's still enough life in him to be revived. But that same feeling holds me back, and I cling to TJ instead. We're gonna be okay. We were manipulated. Keep moving in circles. That voice comes to the surface for a moment, for the first time sounding stunned. I return to focusing on the lynx, the whole reason why I did any of this in the first place. Whatever happens, I'm going to protect him from all the shitty people in the world that want to hurt him. By the time we get to our feet, it's dark and I have to help the lynx along through the sagebrush. He's quiet, robotic, like he was the first time this happened. I help him into my car and I get into the driver's seat, quietly pulling out of the parking lot and leaving Flynn's empty truck behind. I watch it disappear in the rearview mirror, sitting alone under the yellow parking lot light. As we drive along the road, the lynx stares out the window. I can still feel the tension in my arms and legs, making it difficult to keep the wheel steady. My heavy, wet clothes stick to the seat. Finally, we get to the freeway and I look back again. Echo just a series of tiny lights, insignificant on the desert landscape. It seems absurd that that place was where all that horror happened, where all of that horror still is. Chase? I snap out of my daydream, looking over at the lynx, his eyes glowing gently in the fading light. After we're done with wherever we're going. The police station? Yeah. Can you give me a ride back to CCU? I missed my bus. TJ smiles sheepishly. I blink, wondering what to say. Does he not realize? Then I realize what he's doing. What's happening? Just like last time. I clear my throat. Oh yeah, definitely. I'll give you a ride for sure. Thanks, Chase. TJ smiles at me and goes back to looking out the window. I wonder if he'll forget what happened, like what happened with Sydney. I hope that I can. We drive off into the dark desert toward the soft glow of Peyton in the distance. 5 years later. Seriously, this is going to be such a good fucking time. You'll be glad you came. The big grizzly bear nudges the coyote playfully, almost knocking the canine into the passenger window. Ow! Keep your paws on the wheel, or your paw at least. This road ain't in great shape. Cameron eyes the giant half-eaten burger in the bear's equally giant paw. Dev's other paw casually steers the wheel, elbow resting out through the open window. The bear looks happier than he's been in a while, somehow grinning as he chews. The coyote sighs and stares out his own window, watching the desert landscape fly by. It was nothing like this in his hometown. He found himself wishing he was back amongst the pine forests. Something he'd been wishing since he moved to Pueblo for school. Technically, this was his natural habitat, but he found the whole place depressing somehow. Empty and dry and rough. What's pouting for? I'm not pouting. Yeah, you are. Cameron sighs, deciding to change the subject. So why couldn't Larry go again? I don't know, said something about his car breaking down. I think he just flaked, though. Aren't there other haunted places in Pueblo that we could have gone to, like by the school? The bear shakes his head, letting go of the wheel to crumple up the foil that had packaged his sandwich, tossing it into the back. Not like Echo, dude. This place is the most haunted town in the entire fucking world. Cameron sighs once again and suddenly grasps his seat as the car swerves and turns hard onto a smaller road, heading toward a big blue lake. What the fuck? Whoops, sorry. Almost missed the turn. Gotta hit Lake Emma before the actual town. The road quickly ends in a small parking lot, empty and cracked. Why? Because a lot of shit happened here. The grizzly hops out of the car, making the entire thing tilt sideways as he squeezes his bulk out before reaching in for the camera bag. The coyote allows himself one last frustrated sigh before he gets out as well. The bear waits for him, reaching out a large padded paw. Cameron takes it and is immediately drawn into a tight embrace and a kiss. The coyote tenses up for a moment, then waits until Devin releases him. Can you not do that right after you eat a big greasy hamburger? Cameron makes a show of wiping his lips. Devin rolls his eyes. No pleasing you, is there? Nevertheless, the grizzly holds out his paw again, and Cameron takes it, the two of them walking toward the faint trail. It's not a pleasant walk, the trail almost obscured by sagebrush and dry vegetation. Once they reach the edge of the lake, Devin has to help the coyote down the rough, rocky terrain. The coyote feels like a child as Devin lifts him down off the boulders and onto the beach, the bear's tree trunk biceps bulging as he does. They stand there for a moment, taking in the scenery, then Devin leans over to set the camera back down. Cameron stands there, looking around at the very unphotogenic lake. So what exactly happened here that you're so interested in? Devin takes off his backwards baseball cap for a moment to smooth his head fur down. He puts it back on and bends over again to take out the camera. Some people say the lake is haunted too. Some guy got killed here in 2015 according to a few articles I read. Wonderful. That was self-defense though. Was that during the whole hysteria thing or whatever? Devin pans the camera across the length of the lake before stopping on Cameron. The coyote frowns at being filmed. No, that was in 2017. The bear pans the camera the other way now, and Cameron feels himself getting sweaty under his shirt already. Some coyote he was. It's so hot here. Once we set ourselves up in the motel, we'll have some shade. It's still open? Ha! Nothing's open. Everything's abandoned now. We're going to get arrested for trespassing. The bear finally turns off the camera, leaning over to shove it in his bag. Psh! The cops never come down here. It's too out of the way. Anything for the views, right? Hey, my subscribers are going to love this shit. Now come on, let's get back to the car. The bear turns and starts scrambling up the rocky boulders, Cameron waiting as he does. That's when the coyote turns around to glance back at the lake one last time, and a lizard lays in the shallows, splayed out, staring at the sky. But he's not staring because his eyes are gone. Half of his muzzle missing. Fuck! Cameron jumps back, tripping over the rocks and landing against the sharp edges. The coyote hisses in pain, but fear spurs him on, trying to scramble up the rocks after Devin. The bear's already turned around, though, reaching down to pull Cameron up. Shit, you alright? What happened? As Cameron clings to the large bear, he looks back, but nothing's there. I don't know. I saw... Devin looks in the same direction, squinting. Cameron stares a while longer, then turns back and shakes his head against Dev's chest. When Cameron looks up at the bear, he's grinning though. Holy shit. Did you see a ghost? The coyote scowls. What? No. I just thought I saw something. Those are the reflections in the water or something. The bear gives him a knowing smile. What? You're going to be a believer by the end of all this. I know it. The grizzly hugs him tightly as Cameron frowns, still looking back at the shallows. It had been so real, but before he can even really collect himself, Devin is pulling him along back to the car. Oh no, this isn't the end. We still have one more route to go through. But actually, I'll wait till this is all over. Okay. We only have one more route to do for Echo. This has been going on for, actually, let me check the YouTube thing, because it might actually give us the answer for how long we've been doing this. Because I don't think it's been too long. Okay, about 3 weeks. Like, the first uploaded video was, March 15th. Yeah, it was on, March 15th. That's, part 2. And it is currently April 9th. So, yeah. No, it's this bean right here. The last one. Let me go to the thingamajoogie. Echo roots. I keep forgetting to update this. Okay. So, I have a serious question. Do you all want to finish the prologues tomorrow, or jump straight into Jenna's route? Because we still have like 3 prologues left. Okay, we'll do that tomorrow. And we'll figure out how we're going to do Jenna's route the day after tomorrow. Okay, well. Okay, is it just me, or do I feel like Flynn gets fucked in every single route? Like, in some way, shape, or form, especially in TJ and his own, he gets fucked. Right? I mean, like, in the earlier days, like, I would say he kind of deserves it, but definitely in the later days. But anyways, stay safe, and have a good night.